They believe they're possessed by an off-world entity.
They do?
Yeah, and Joe, I've been on air 22 years. I don't get into aliens, metaphysical, religion, any of that. I've studied the elite, and I've also communicated with a lot of the top people. And if you want to know, I will actually break down right now the best knowledge right now what's happening on the planet.
What's up, Conscious Monkeys? If you don't know who I am, my name's Clayton Cuteri. I'm the host of Traveling to Consciousness, which is a podcast that explores spirituality and the metaphysics. On my podcast, I have interviewed some of the top names in the spirituality community. So with that being said, I do believe that I have a very unique opinion whenever it comes to this type of stuff. And if you like my breakdown, please suggest other clips for me to break down, because it's my goal to help you guys see this world in a different way, because it is far deeper than just this physical world. And I was recently reintroduced to this video between Alex Jones and Joe Rogan on episode 911 of the Joe Rogan Experience. I am here to give you my personal interpretation of what Alex Jones is trying to articulate. He does a really good job of it, but I think for the average person, it might be a little bit over the top. Joe also does an excellent job of trying to reel Alex in to explain what he's trying to say. Now, without that further delay, let's see what Alex Jones has to say.
They believe they're possessed by an off-world entity.
They do?
Yeah, and Joe, I've been on air 22 years. I don't get into aliens, metaphysical, religion, any of that. I've studied the elite, and I've also communicated with a lot of the top people. And if you want to know, I will actually break down right now the best knowledge right now what's happening on the planet.
What's happening?
And I will break down his breakdown of the best knowledge that we have on the planet.
The elite are all about transcendence and living forever and the secrets of the universe, and they want to know all this. Some are good, some are bad, some are a mix.
All right, first off, I think that this happens with the majority of people who rise to powers. They do become aligned with the secrets of the universe. There's a really good book called The Secret, and it talks about how your feelings and emotions get you in alignment. And I mean, look, I'm interested with the secrets of the universe, and I am hopefully pursuing those for more of a positive end. And what he's going into is the more negative aspect. I believe it's also important to articulate the idea of energies. And this is going to help us later with what he discusses, where there are lower level energies that we can identify with. This would be things like fear, shame, guilt, and the ego, the lower frequency that this is attaches with those energies. And the point here, because he goes into it getting pretty deep, look at this world as in lower frequency and higher frequency being love, joy, enlightenment, and lower frequency being more self-serving, more egotistically serving, more what's in my best interest. So let's keep going with the clip.
But the good ones don't ever want to organize. The bad ones tend to want to organize because they lust after power.
This is actually another important point. And what he's trying to articulate here is the story that we have heard time and time again. There was a recent movie, Love and Thunder, with Thor, where kind of all the good people kind of laugh and scoff at this evil that's brewing in the background. And what happens is the evil then rises to a certain rate or a certain height where all the good people have nothing left to do but come together, fight the evil, destroy it, and conquer it. And he might get into it here about how love is actually more powerful than evil. There's actually a Hawkins scale that proves this. You can go deeper into that, but I just wanted to point out here the importance of realizing this core fundamental movie.
Powerful consciousnesses don't want to dominate other people. They want to empower them. So they...
Boom. I mean, it's the nail on the head. You know, I try to align with, I know I'm not perfect, but I do my best to align with empowering other people. That really is my goal of this channel, my podcast, all the content I create is to give you the information to empower you guys to obtain this otherworldly knowledge, this other dimensional knowledge.
Tend to get together until things are really late in the game. Then they come together. Evil's always defeated because good is so much stronger. And we're on this planet, and Einstein's physics showed it, Max Planck's physics showed it all. There's at least 12 dimensions. And now that's why all the top scientists and billionaires are coming out saying it's a false hologram.
Okay, before he goes into this, I want to point out dimensions. So this will help you at least mentally break it down a little bit. So we are in the third dimension. There's length, width, and height. I guess you couldn't see the width because it's coming right at you because this is a two-dimensional screen, right? That's why you can't see well, if I go this way, you know because of the way you live in the third dimension that this is width because it's coming closer. However, if you had no perception of the third dimension, you would think that what I am doing right here doesn't make sense. You're like, oh, it's just getting bigger and smaller. You wouldn't realize that I am traversing the third dimension by doing this. So like, you know that this is one dimension, this would be a second dimension, this is the third dimension. Where the fourth dimension comes in is the element of time. And I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I just want to use this as a leverage to realize there are more dimensions than what we have here. But I just wanted to point it out in terms of physics.
Is artificial. The computers are scanning it and finding tension points where it's artificially projected and gravity's bleeding in to this universe. That's what they call dark matter.
I love Joe Rogan's reaction right there. Can you rewind that for a sec?
Verse. That's what they call dark matter. So we're like a thought or a dream that's a wisp in some computer program, some God's mind, whatever. They're proving it all. It's all coming out. Now, there's like this sub-transmission zone below the third dimension that's just turned over to the most horrible things is what it resonates to. And it's trying to get up into the third dimension that's just a basic level consciousness to launch into the next levels.
Okay, so what my interpretation is that this lower level entity or vibration might be a parallel to the shadow beings that you experience in the astral realm. If you don't know what that is, I highly recommend checking out the astral projection podcast I did, which is episode 049 with Vincent Field. Shadow beings are very commonly associated with the astral realm. If you try astral projecting, 99% of the time you get matched or you will encounter astral shadow being. The point though is that they are of lower frequency, they're of lower density. Usually people cannot or are prevented from astral projecting because of the fear that is felt whenever they encounter such beings. The point that he's trying to make here is that there's an organization of this lower energy that wants to take over a higher energy field. So what he's trying to point out here is that the lower energy is trying to come up into our physical dimension, and it comes through in the form of energy. It's not going to be anything that you physically see. A way to articulate this would be ego. So if you know a lot of people who identify with ego, materialistic things, these would be people that this energy would try to cling to, would try to invoke. Now, this is where it kind of gets interesting, is we don't really have a term for this. We don't really have a way to identify it. The best way that I would articulate it is that it is the energy of ego. It's the energy of suffering, of shame, of guilt. The point is that people who identify with this lower vibrational frequency, that's almost like the bridge for the lower dimension to kind of come up through into our physical dimension that we are experiencing right now. Let's keep going with it. Hopefully we can explain it a little bit more as we go along.
And our species is already way up in the fifth, sixth dimension consciously.
So here's the deal. He's going through such complex ideas so quickly that this really deserves a better breakdown. So there's another thing here that consciously, like my spirit, although Clayton Cuteri is having this third dimensional interaction, my spirit, which is named Igor, which you know if you listen to my podcast, he is technically a sixth dimensional being. He's having a whole different experience than Clayton is, but a piece of Igor has reincarnated as Clayton in order to have a Clayton experience. Now, that's the point, right? Is that I am of a being that is of greater magnitude than just this dimension. And so that's, I think, what he's trying to articulate here, that we as humans have sixth dimensional experiences without experiencing them in the third dimension. They do manifest in different ways sometimes, but that's kind of out of the scope of this video. Let's get back to it.
Best people. But there's this big war trying to like basically destroy humanity because humanity has free will and there's a decision to which level we want to go to. We have free will, so evil's allowed to come and contend, not just good.
And with that being said, there is a non-intervention clause with like the Galactic Federation of Light. They're told that they're not allowed to interact with us. We've hit a certain point in our evolution of our knowledge where aliens have been told that they cannot essentially help humans. So technically we're on our own to fight this lower energy, but all you really need to do is just to project the energy you want to project into the world. And that's really the best way that we'll be able to defeat this. But I just kind of wanted to highlight that.
The elites themselves believe they're racing using human technology to try to take our best minds and build some type of breakaway civilization where they're going to merge with machines, transcend.
Dude, Joe's face. It's crazy too, because I completely agree. What he is saying is absolutely insane. We're going to back that up a little bit, but I think it's absolutely insane what he is saying, and it's difficult to comprehend, which is why he needs to slow down and kind of break apart these things or let Joe interact. But there's a reason he's Alex Jones.
Where they're going to merge with machines, transcend, and break away from the failed species that is man, which is kind of like a false transmission, because they're thinking what they are is ugly and bad, projecting it onto themselves instead of believing, no, it's a human test about building us up.
Oh, I love how he words that, because Earth is seen as a school. Now, a lot of people in the spirituality community know this, that Earth is a school. The amount of polarity that exists on Earth is some of the greatest in the universe. So that polarity becomes a huge, huge, huge teacher for us in order for us to transcend our consciousness to that next level. If we want to elevate, if we want to grow as a species, as a soul, we need to make a choice. Do we want to align more with self-serving beliefs, or do we want to serve like humanity? Do we want to empower others? In the Law of One, it actually talks about, I'll show you it right there. It talks about how 51% of servitude to others will allow you to transmute or transcend this reality. 95% of, and if you are 95% of self, then you go to a different realm essentially. But if you're between those, if you're still in the middle, then you reincarnate and you got to decide which way you're going to go. So that's really the test that he's talking about. Let's see where else we go with this.
And so Google was set up 18, 19 years ago. I knew about this before it was declassified. I'm just saying I have good sources, that they wanted to build a giant artificial system. And Google believes that the first artificial intelligence will be a supercomputer based on the neuron activities of the hive mind of humanity, with billions of people wired into it with the Internet of Things.
Holy shit is right, Joe. Because this is kind of what's happening already. You have your phone, and every single button click that you make on that phone is tracked. Even my voice right now, my phone, actually, I don't think my phone's near me, which is kind of cool. But if my phone was near me, it's picking up everything that I'm saying, because in those agreements, you don't know what you're signing up for. And even more so, the people who put laws into this country don't know what technology is even doing. I have listened to the hearings, and it's dumbfound that they have no idea. They barely understand Facebook, let alone we're like 5 generations past Facebook at this point. The point I'm trying to make here is that, we are all connected, and there are machines that hold a lot of data on all of human activity. And it's interesting where he goes with this.
And so all of our thoughts go into it, and we're actually building a computer that has real neurons in real time, that's also psychically connected to us, that are organic creatures, so that
I'm not sure how it's psychically connected. I would ask Alex to elaborate a bit more on this. I know in this physical dimension it's connected, but maybe there's some way to try to deviate that. If I'm giving all of my physical connection to it, then it also means that it is psychically. I'm not sure how a computer is psychically connected. I would ask Alex to elaborate on that.
They will have current prediction powers, future prediction powers, a true crystal ball. But the big secret is, once you have a crystal ball and know the future, you can add stimuli beforehand and make decisions that control the future. And so then...
That's huge. One sec. I'll be right back. Let me grab something. There's actually already an entire book on this, if you're interested. It's called Persuasion. I guess this is going to probably show up backwards for you. Maybe it won't. It looks like it's good in that picture. So it's called Persuasion. It's by Robert Cialdini. Highly recommend it. That book actually talks about how you can influence people's decision makings by what you say before you actually make a decision. I think a classical example is how car salesmen offer you water before, or like when you come in, so that it's a gesture of like good faith, and then you want to replicate being in good faith because they've already done something for you. That's a very high level approach to this, but if you really want to dive deep into that idea, this is the book for you. So point being is that you can influence an outcome by what you say in the beginning. I just want to say, and there's a whole fucking book on it, so dive into that.
It's the end of consciousness and free will for individuals, as we know, and a true 2.0 in a very bad way, hive mind consciousness with an AI jacked into everyone, knowing our hopes and dreams, delivering it to us, not in some PKD wirehead system where we plug in and give up on consciousness because of unlimited pleasure, but because we were already wired in and absorbed before we knew it by giving over our consciousness to this system by our daily decisions that it was able to manipulate and control into a larger system.
Okay, so my first thought on this is that I don't know that the Galactic Federation of Light would allow such a thing to exist for us to completely be absolved of our free will. However, with that being said, what Alex Jones is hinting at is what they are pursuing. This is what the, let's say, the lower vibe energy elites are pursuing. Again, I don't want to say all elites because it depends on how you define elite, but the point is that this is what the lower vibration elites are pursuing.
There's now a human counterstrike taking place to shut this off before it gets fully into place and to block.
First of all, I love how they're just like, dude, what is he going on a rant about? But that's what's difficult, is like, it's taking me well over 50 interviews to even be on a similar understanding of what he's talking about. But what he is talking about actually fits the picture of the spiritual consciousness rabbit hole that I've been going down the last year of my life. So I find it absolutely fascinating to get back to this and to listen to what he's saying about this in a different context.
These systems and to try to have an actual debate about where humanity goes and cut off the pedophiles and psychic vampires that are control of this AI system before humanity's destroyed.
So he's talking about the good people getting into power and doing things in order for us to prevent them from actually creating such a crystal ball or a futuristic machine. I don't know. Let's see how it plays out. Joe sounds like he's about to have some interesting question here.
Humanity is only
controlled of AI. How'd the pedophiles get in control of AI?
The pedophiles at a whatever level,
rule.
The devil, whatever you want to call it, this interdimensional thing that gives them advanced off-world technology, the fallen one that's not of this world, is giving them advanced knowledge
What
on
are
how
you
to construct these systems
what is
that have already been used before on other populations.
What?
Is that Satan?
But what are you
That's
talking
Satan.
about?
That's Satan.
Okay, real quick here. I'm not sure where I stand on Satan because I have read a book by Dolores Cannon which argues that Satan can be just excuses. Like the fact that we just have excuses for why things happen could be our manifestation of Satan. So I'm not sure where I actually fall on Satan. And I'm actually not quite sure what that whole little last blurb was because it was a little bit, there was a lot of information there. So let's see if Joe can rile him back in and see what he has to say
Explain
about it.
that. You're saying something insane.
It is insane. It is absolutely insane what he is saying. But that doesn't mean that it's not true.
Thing that the stupid preacher tells you about who's totally controlled or something you read about on in the news.
I mean, again, I would like him to go back to that last little thing that he said. Again, he kind of goes off the cuff and just starts going crazy at certain points, which is kind of part of his beauty, but kind of part of his downfall. But I would like to get back to what he was saying about the fallen one and how that's interacted with. Let's see if we get there.
TV,
right?
But this is an interdimensional force that wants to influence us to build something that absorbs us and kills us.
I don't think it would absorb and kill us. I think it would be more like the Matrix. It would be more how the Matrix is played out, which I think is what he's exactly illuminating. If you look at this in the lens of the Matrix and how the machines actually are using the human bodies to propagate and to transform the world around them, I think that's a better articulation of what he's trying to say here. I don't believe that it would actually kill the humans. It would just rather use us as energy sources.
Rather than the divine free will we're given to build something much better that empowers the species. So the species is now making a decision about its entire future.
Where are you getting this from?
That's what it is.
But where are you getting it from?
Where are you getting this from? I don't. This is just what the facts are. I don't know what you mean. What am I getting this from?
Oh, from looking at all the data, researching it, studying it, watching the enemy. That's the big decision that humanity has now got before us.
So if you were directing someone to investigate this on their own, how would they do that?
This is
So
the
if you
key.
say-
Well, I mean, here's the problem. You get someplace finally in deep research
This is the key.
where it's
Pay
what
attention.
every culture already said, what everybody already knew, what they're telling you in movies like Prometheus, what the elite admit in the New York Times they believe in is this, seeded by off-world systems.
Panspermia.
Yes, everything they're doing points towards this, and then you read their own writings. They believe we're this ugly, fallen, ugly species. We're all need to be killed.
Do
They're
your
the
own
rich
research.
billionaires.
What I want to just emphasize here before he goes on to this next thing is just do your own research. if you go deep enough down the rabbit hole, if you have an open enough amount of mind, if you can speak, if you can articulate, if your mind is open to the possibility that this exists, you will find all the breadcrumbs that will lead you to this realization. And hopefully this is your starting point. There's no way that I could possibly find all the information that has led me to this point, but I guarantee you that if you look for it, you can find the information out there that will take you down this point. And quite frankly, it's just doing research on this stuff, going deeper, and having an open mind to it. I think it's absolutely crazy that this type of information is still out there.
Who are better than us, and they're going to merge
At least at a high level.
with machines and become gods and go to the next level.
But don't you think that most people who extrapolate from where we stand today with our cell phones and our Apple Watches and our integration with the computer and the internet constantly, don't you think that most people see that there's going to be some sort of symbiotic connection?
Yes, but
it's
they
a
were
very
sure.
easy thing
They
to
were
make.
saying it before.
For sure, but I don't see how that negates anything that Alex is saying.
I understand, but a lot of people were saying it
Well,
before.
here's the problem.
But
Who
the-
engineered what we were given? What is the point of the back doors, the Trojan horses? Here's what I'm getting at.
Who enginered what?
Here's
I think what he's trying to say here, I don't know if he'll get into it. Let's see what he gets into.
here's what I'm telling you. The elite literally believe interdimensionally.
So Joe's having a hard time with this. I get that because Alex is going very 100 miles an hour and there's a lot to break down here, as I'm having a difficult time to break down here. This clip, we're only 7 minutes into just this clip, and I'm sure that this video has already been a lot longer. When he's talking about the back door and the energy, the point that I think he's trying to make, or attempting to try to make, is who are we putting in control of these things? What is the intention? What he's talking about is the intention. Let me back this up a little bit.
Some sort of symbiotic connection.
Yes, but
it's
they
a
were-
very easy thing
They
to
were
make.
saying it before.
I understand, but a lot of people were saying it
Well,
before.
here's the problem.
But
Who
the-
engineered what we were given? What is the point of the back doors, the Trojan horses?
Intention.
Here's what I'm getting at.
Who engineered what?
The point is intention. What is the intention behind the people who are... I'm not sure what sources he has for this, but I don't know. We can explore what he's saying.
Here's what I'm telling you. The elite literally believe interdimensionally.
You can see Joe's just not... He's just, okay, what's going on here? I need to reel this back in somehow.
They were given this information and then built it. And here's the thing. They built it. And Google admits, even in data dumps to Wired 2 years ago, that they're building an AI that will end human consciousness, free will, and take over. And the next species will rise out of that. They've already decided our species.
But people have been talking. Marshall McLuhan was talking about
No,
that 50 fucking years
No,
ago.
here's the deal. They built it. Amazon 2 years ago admits they can already, with 99% certainty, pick what their regular users are going to order
But Alex,
before they
hold
order
on a
it and have
second.
it ready.
Instead of dragging this out to some nefarious end, isn't it entirely possible that all these futurists, all these technological innovators, they all see the same end game? That there's going to be some sort of a complete
No, I agree with
integration
you. I agree with
between
you.
people
But it's
and
beyond that. It's
artificial
beyond that. It's beyond
intelligence.
that.
Okay, so I don't disagree with Joe here at all. I mean, I completely agree that that's kind of where we're at. I think everyone can see that. I mean, we're technically... You can argue that we're already at the point where we are integrated with machine. I mean, it's just like we're just waiting for our phone to just get a little bit closer to us. Maybe it's just embedded inside our hand or something.
Historically, everybody saw this coming.
Right.
And so this big
All
battle.
the futurists, all the people that study the
that's
future.
not, that's not what's being
before-
discussed. Well, it is what's being discussed, but there's like another layer on top of it, right? So like Joe's like kind of here with it, but Alex is almost trying to explain this different layer to it, if that makes sense.
silicon chips were created. The point
Marshall McLuhan, I think it was in the 1970s, said that human beings are the sex organs of the machine world. And he was saying, even back then, that human beings are eventually
Sure.
going to integrate or become something that's a part
But what
of
I'm telling you
machines.
is there's a
Yes, Alex is on board with that, but the next layer is what he's trying to get to, which is the good versus evil construction of such an item.
centralized system of what they're building that isn't naturally occurring.
Who is they?
And we're artificially
Who's
early.
they?
The elites believe they're getting off-world,
All right, but who's
interdimensional.
building these things that you're just describing right now?
I mean, if you actually read what all the globalists say, you've obviously read their writings, you know this, Joe, they are getting not off-world.
So here is one problem that I think Joe's actually trying to hit on, which is the use of they, which can be difficult for people to articulate around. What my interpretation is when he's saying they, it is people in positions of power or of authority within the social media companies, within the technological companies, who want to identify with their ego, who are of lower frequency, who understand the keys to the universe, the way that all of the energy works, and they are using it for nefarious purposes. That's my interpretation of who they is. Of course, it is hard to pinpoint on one specific person because it's not really. There's might be people who are part of this agenda that aren't even in the public eye. So that's kind of where it gets a little wish-washy and difficult for stuff like this to pin down. Yeah, I think that's honestly probably a difficult part of it.
But interdimensional communications to then build this system that we see lowers our IQ, makes us live less.
I've never
makes
seen.
us
Okay,
unhappy.
but
Again, the question comes back to intention, in my opinion.
when you're making these big statements, like they're getting interdimensional signals is telling them to create these systems that lower IQs.
Interdimensional signal sounds like channeling to me, which I do. Haha.
That's something you got to really prove.
Proof is very, very interesting. When you want to say you can prove something, I don't know. I've channeled things for people, and I have a laundry list of people saying like the revolution that has happened in their life since doing a channeling session with me. And I've even had that for other people. I mean, there's synchronicities in this world that you just have to experience for yourself to realize that they exist. I know that mainstream science isn't going to support that idea, but it's kind of hard to articulate without you experiencing it for yourself. So sign up for a Akashic rating with me, and that'll be the proof, all the proof you need.
Like if there's
Okay,
some,
let me
if there's a
prove it,
way,
let me
but if you
prove
can,
it.
okay, please, if there's something you can show
Okay,
us.
all the studies show screen time, all the computers lowering IQs,
Right.
lowering
Sure.
fertility,
But, okay,
lowering
but
our health. Okay,
but
that
let me
part's
stop
proven.
you right there.
That part's
Is that a
proven.
case? Is that a case of is somebody holding a gun to your head? Let me tell you about me. I'm addicted to this goddamn thing. I love watching
That was
YouTube
designed for
videos.
you.
I love taking pictures of shit. I love
almost
It
like
looking things
interfaces
up.
you with humanity. It has a lot of beautiful things.
It's almost like a chicken
does,
or egg
but I'll tell you, they're very
conversation.
addictive. They're very addictive.
Well,
So,
Joe-
but hold on a second. Let me stop you right there. I don't necessarily think that's engineered to be addictive. I think it's engineered to be really well, and work really well, and the fact that it works really well is very addictive. Just like little kids look at a screen. You put a fucking television in front of them when they're
Sure.
1 year old and
Yep.
play some stupid
But they-
commercial, and they're like, "Whoa!"
But Joe, they picked
I
a- they
think-
picked a
But hold
frequency
on a second. No,
to
they did not.
mesmerize
No,
you.
no,
They
they made
admit
better.
that.
Hold on a second. They made better and better technology that we're not designed to absorb. Human beings have exactly we have the exact same
Atlantean
DNA.
moment.
We have the exact same DNA that we did.
What did he just say?
Designed to absorb. Human beings have we have the exact same
Atlantean
DNA.
moment.
We have the exact same
The Atlantean moment. The time whenever civilization came to a crash. How does that relate to this?
DNA that we did 10,000 years
The
ago.
Atlantean
Back
moment.
when there was nothing like
he said it
television. There was
again?
nothing like
Emphasizing
movies.
it?
There was nothing like stereo headphones that project
But
music.
listen, don't
Hold
you
on, please. I let
already
you go on your crazy
seem
rant.
like it's all
Hold on,
forward?
please. You're interrupting my crazy rant. I'm telling you that
This is one thing that I think Alex Jones could do better of, is like injecting some more humor into it. I feel like this conversation is very like strong, and people are going to resist it because of how much energy he puts into it. And I think that I heard recently on a Jordan Peterson podcast that if you're not able to inject play into what you're talking about, it's highly likely that you shouldn't be at a position of making decisions for other people. Now, I know Alex isn't really making decisions for other people, but the reason I'm bringing it up is because I do believe that we need to inject some play into it. And I really wish that with my content, I could inject a little bit more play, a little bit more humor into this whole spirituality thing, because it's something that, even though we are now starting to discover these keys of the universe, and hopefully it's becoming more stream, and I am hoping that I am a part of making that more mainstream, just saw it was 11/11, that we can dive into this more, we can understand it, but don't realize that it's so serious at the same time.
this is a natural progression of this massive infatuation that we have with technology. They don't have to engineer it. It's natural. It happens to you. It happens to me.
they say they're
It happens to
engineering it.
anybody who's looking at cooler and cooler
Yeah,
special
and-
effects in movies. All that stuff is a natural
And
thing.
Steve Jobs wouldn't let his kids play with an iPad.
Well, then he's a cunt. He's a cunt. Let your kids play with the goddamn
Joe, what
iPad.
I'm telling you
What the
is,
fuck's wrong
that
with
was
him?
a great rant. I'm not disagreeing with
No,
you.
you interrupted it 10 times, you fuck.
Oh,
You gotta let a motherfucker rant.
Okay,
I'll
go
let
ahead
you
and rant
rant.
then. Go ahead and
Yeah.
rant then.
I'm done now. Shit.
Yeah,
Let's
but you're
talk
sitting
about-
there.
let's
But hold
talk
on, let me
about-
get back to this
We're
thing.
not talking about the weather, Eddie. I'll tell you that right now.
Let me tell you right now.
done with
Yeah,
that.
let me tell you right
We're
now.
done with that.
Fuck clowns.
Let me tell you. I'm trying to break this down. The whole
Hashtag
thing
fuck
is being
clowns.
set up to control.
Okay, what I'm
So it's interesting because I feel like the core concept of what they're trying to get at is whether or not it is basically being made on purpose to mesmerize you. And I can't imagine, like I feel like the intention of Apple, of Google, of the big techs, any social media company, is to get your attention. YouTube, for instance, you're watching this on YouTube. The whole goal of them is to get your attention. They want your attention. So if you give them that attention, that's the whole goal. That's the goal. The question becomes, though, what are they going to do with that attention? Is there intention of having your attention to create these things that are going to allow lower vibrational frequency to grab hold of this universe? And I think the key is just to realize that you're in control and you get to decide your future. And I don't know really what to do with that, but I think that's where they might be off base a little bit, right? Like they're both agreeing that these things are addictive. Now the question is, yes, that had to be their intention. That was the whole point of it. I want my videos to be addicting so that you watch them. Like I think that's the intention behind someone creating anything, is because they want people to see it. Well, that's not entirely true. But I think the point though is that, yeah, was it created for the nefarious purpose and that energy coming up through?
I'm telling you, is when you're talking about the elites and interdimensional signals that they're receiving that are telling us to lower our IQ, you can't just say that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Like, you've got to at least be able to articulate it in a way that makes sense to people. And that's something that's difficult to do because we are talking about a different realm of reality, a different realm of existence.
Proof. Okay, let me give you proof.
That sounds so crazy, by the way.
Let me hear you.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds so crazy. I want to know where the aliens
Where's
are.
the proof?
Are they on Earth?
Hey, you know what? It's really cool to say
I
now,
already
hey,
told you,
maybe
you're
we're in a
the-
computer
you didn't
simulation.
listen to what I
Everybody
said.
talks about that. Everyone says, dude, the
But you're
latest
not.
science
You're
says.
not. You're not.
No, but
They're saying
people
that to
believe
make you
that
think you're not.
easily.
Hey,
People
Joe?
go, yeah, we're in a computer simulation. But then when you talk about interdimensional, like magical shit, like, wait a minute.
Exactly.
Dude, that's huge.
Magic is a technology that hasn't been discovered yet.
That's huge. Honestly, what Eddie Bravo just pointed out there. First of all, simulation theory, in my opinion, is just that we are wearing these meat suits. I think that there's still an energetic thing going on. I don't think it's like computer servers that are running this whole thing. My opinion is that, again, like I was saying earlier, we're that sixth dimensional being. We're a soul that is having an experience as a human being on Earth in the year 2022 or whenever you were watching this. So I think that that's an important thing to note. And I don't know why that is so much more difficult to believe than, like Eddie's saying, a computer simulation. And maybe it's something because we have computers, we know what they are, and so we want to articulate that that's what's controlling this because it makes sense. So where I stand with simulation theory is that it depends how you define simulation theory. I do believe that this is not the most real. This is real in a sense, but it is not the highest real or the highest truth of existence as we know it. And we'll experience that whenever we go to the grave. So, anyhow, where were we?
Exactly.
And that's what people
Listen,
sit there.
videos are fucking magic for sure.
Fuck yeah, your
if I
phone
can,
is
if
magic.
you and I could do this right now, and we could go like, here, we'll do it right now. This is what we're gonna do.
Videos are
We're gonna
magic.
go right now. You want to talk some magic? Because this really is fucking
All right,
magic.
I'm going to jump
We're
to the
do-
next video now. All right, Alex Jones had to go to the bathroom, so we're skipping ahead a little bit in the interview. I think it's like 10 minutes or something, so go check it out.
There is no
Alex
Alex
Jones is a
Jones.
hoax.
Once
No, I
Rogan
wasn't
confronted
trying
him
to interrupt you
about being
earlier.
Bill Hicks.
The globalists are anti-human. They think we're a bunch of dumb animals.
But where are the
They're-
aliens?
They're carrying out a sign. They believe it's not aliens.
Does that
They're
have
already
to
here.
do
It's
with
interdimensional.
Hey, does that have to do with the Luciferian Freemasonry type shit?
I'd love to break
Skull
that
and
down.
Bones, Skull and Bones. Breakdown.
I actually don't know
Because I
much
know
about
in
that.
the Albert Pike wrote the Freemason Bible. He's talking about Luciferian shit. So if you're a Freemason,
I actually have a really dope story about Lucifer and how it might not actually be the devil, because Lucifer didn't mean the devil until the 1600s with the King James Bible. Before that, it actually was not. It was known as the light bringer. And actually in Latin, Venus was the bringer of light, and Venus, I forget how the name was attracted to Lucifer, but there's a connection between Lucifer representing the Venus, the planet, and it also meant like bringer of light. I have a crazy story, a crazy dream about it. You have to check out my podcast to find that. But let's keep going, because I think there's evidence that Lucifer isn't actually the devil as we know it.
Arm
Bible
Lucifer seething in my hands.
says that
he
you're
talks
a-
about
Okay,
he
go
founded
for
the KKK.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Tell me about Albert Pike and the
No,
Freemasons.
I want to give. I mean, Joe. Here's the thing, Joe. You brought in rightful
This will
questions.
prove your point.
About. I will in a minute.
It'll lead to your point because
You
you're talking
brought
about
up the whole
Luciferianism.
point. You brought up the whole. Let me just do this first.
Please.
You brought up the whole point about.
No more weed, Alex. No more.
Hey,
You're taking quotes from Buzz Aldrin.
When
I'm
Eddie
like, no more weed
Bravo
for you.
tells you went too deep, you went too
yeah,
deep.
No more. I knew he shouldn't have smoked. He's talking.
Maybe this
taking
stuff is
quotes
too
from
deep.
Buzz
Here's the
People.
Aldrin.
difference. I'm
Let me know
not
in the
trying to
comments.
dominate the discussion. I'm being
definitely
nice.
not.
I'm being nice.
You are
Listen,
being nice.
Seriously, I want to be nice.
You
I'm a
are nice.
person.
You're a great guy. Look, I love you, man.
I love
I'm,
you too,
I'm
but
always
let me-
happy to see you.
What I'm telling you is that the globalists admit a lot of this. It's in a lot of their white papers, a lot of their reports. If you want me to actually give it to you, I will.
Oh.
They say they believe they're going to become gods. The rest of
know
us
I've
are
seen
profane. and
Right,
documents.
but
don't
all
They
get
that
it.
shit
them
about
recently.
interdimensional beings, giving them all the data.
Let me
Where's
tell you.
all that coming from?
Is there video?
Okay, you know where the theory of the species and where all the Darwin stuff came from. He had an hallucination and believed he was given all this stuff from like demons. And I'm not saying that's real.
You confusing Darwin with Descartes?
No, that's Darwin.
Didn't Descartes have it?
This is
Isn't he
super
the one that
important.
came up with
Pay
the idea of
attention
science?
here.
Oh, it's science from a dream.
Lot
So
of folks.
Darwin's idea came from. Darwin was like really into channeling and stuff.
Boom.
right?
Yes.
And the guy
See,
that
he
he
always
came
knows
up.
it. And he acts like he does.
Boom.
Okay, whatever.
Well, there was the
Tesla.
guy that yeah, a lot of those guys.
Tesla.
are.
Tesla.
Yeah,
was-
they
but-
get the technology they believe from a freaking other dimension. I'm not
You
even
know what?
saying.
People
What's
totally are
irritating
cool
is
with that.
you know all about this as much as I do or more, Joe, and you sit there and act like you don't know.
I forgot
'Cause you're
about
afraid
it.
to give your audience all the information.
Yeah, but you know
What
what? You know what you're saying?
Are you
Joe
saying I'm a
wanted-
shell?
Hey, Joe.
No,
Joe.
I'm saying you're smart.
Oh my gosh.
Doesn't okay, whatever.
Well, there was
Tesla.
the guy that yeah, a lot of those guys. are.
Tesla.
Yeah,
was-
they
but
get the technology they believe from a freaking other dimension. I'm not
you
even
know what?
saying.
People
What's
totally are
irritating
cool
is
with that.
you know all about this as much as I do or more, Joe, and you sit there and act like you don't know.
I forgot
'Cause you're
about
afraid
it.
to give your audience all the information.
Yeah, but you know
What are you
what? You know what you're saying?
Are you
Joe
saying I'm a
wanted-
shell?
Hey, Joe.
No,
Joe,
I'm saying you're
wanted
smart,
proof,
but you know all
damn
the
well.
shit I'm bringing up, and then you say I'm making
on.
it up that's interdimensional.
Oh my gosh, this is an amazing piece of just content. Kudos to you guys. But I mean, it's kind of right. Like Joe does know what he's talking about, but the thing is that you need to package it and deliver it in a way that's going to resonate with people. Because if you just go spouting all this interdimensional hubba lubba off, people are just going to tune you out. And so the point is to have these physical world examples that show you that it actually is created. And this kind of goes back into channeling. Is first of all, I want you to know that you have the power to channel. It's just whether or not you believe yourself, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff. But you do have the power. Even when you're dreaming, you're channeling information from a different dimension, a different world to help you in your life. Their messages. The key point here that is trying to be brought up, though, is that there are inventions that are created in this physical world that are brought from otherworldly places. If you want to go deeper on this, interview number 34 with Ross Newkirk, who actually does use the astral realm to create inventions in this reality, in this plane of existence, and he uses it for good. He has created thousands of patents, and he doesn't even have a science background. The whole point here is like Tesla, for instance, you can connect your consciousness to a different dimension in order to bring in physical inventions into this reality. That's how so many great inventions have been created. I'm not going to go down the list, but it is a thing.
Well,
Yeah,
I just wanted to
Tesla-
know where it's coming
Tesla
from.
would
Tesla
say-
definitely did
Tesla's
say
the
that.
smartest guy
Sure.
ever. A
So
million
did Darwin. I mean,
Yeah.
let me tell you.
Well, no,
You probably
Jamie's,
already know
Jamie's
it all.
pulling it up.
You probably already know it
But
all.
I know that Darwin's partner, the guy that he developed the theory of evolution, where they both had like a similar theory and they came
Colton.
together with it, and he was like really into it to the point where he was into channeling and all sorts of weird
I
stuff.
love how
that
he knows this.
Discredited him. I listened to it on
Why?
Radio Lab.
That's what they believe. I'm not.
But why does that discredit him? If I create something crazy, if I create like a Tesla tower and I tell you that I use channeling to create this in the astral realm, how does that discredit me? Why are we living in a society where that is to be discredited? We should be like, holy shit, teach me how to do this. Should we not?
Saying it's real. CNN's going to have me up here all clipped together.
Now, I don't know why he's saying that he's
That's
not.
what I'm saying. I'm saying they discredited him. They just put all the emphasis on Darwin. That's why you only
I
hear
know.
about Darwin's
Let me tell you
work.
where it all came from.
Okay,
Albert
please
Pike,
do.
Freemasonry.
But that's phase two.
What about
He was
the
head of
aliens?
element. Okay, let me tell you.
I don't know about
Keep
Albert
up the
Pike. I
aliens.
should look into that.
Come on, I know you know things.
We got to go
No,
back to
you guys
Albert
don't even want to
Pike.
hear it, though.
I do. We do.
I think you got to start there.
We're just fucking around. You don't get
Albert
to do a
Pike.
show like this very
No,
often.
it's great. I love it. I'm not mad. Let me
Okay.
just tell you.
Please do.
Let me just tell you. If you look at this, that's what I'm telling you. I don't believe it.
Okay.
I'm telling you, studying what the establishment believes, none of them are atheists. They all believe they're getting interdimensional stuff.
So that's interesting, right? He doesn't believe it, but he's just saying what they believe. Maybe he's trying to save himself. I mean, I'll go on record saying that I can see what they are saying. I mean, it's real in a sense, right? Maybe he doesn't want to go on record as saying that he believes in this. I mean, look, using the technology, I think is a huge thing. I think that's a huge example that we should use for the truth in this. Again, go check out episode 34 with Ross Newkirk, because we go into depth about how he uses the astral realm, which is like the dream realm, to create inventions and then use them in the real world. He doesn't even need to use any testing, because it's like higher level physics or geometry or mathematics that actually gets pulled in, and you can actually create these items and then use them in the real world. We talk about free energy, how that's real. So I highly recommend you check out that. I'll probably link that video right after this. But yeah, I think it's a super powerful interview. And honestly, please drop a comment if you know of other things that you would love me to dissect. I just saw this and I thought to myself, I have to dissect this, and I'm down to dissect more. Dissect more. I'm down to dissect more. So please drop a comment if you would like for me to dissect another interview where it's of this. If it's so high profile people, that helps as well, because the YouTube algorithm, all that fun stuff. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, check out my podcast, check out the links below, and I will see you all in the 6th dimension.